Easthampton Mayor Mike Tosnick is stepping down after 17 years in office and is running for Mike Knapik's Senate seat. 3 candidates are running for the honor to be only the second mayor in Easthampton's history. Welcome to Easthampton's mayoral debate. I'm Bob Flaherty, morning host for WHMP on 1400 and 1600 AM and 96.9 FM. Our candidates: Nancy Sykes is chairwoman of the Easthampton School Committee, her second term on the board. She taught high school in Virginia for 25 years, was Dean of Students at Western New England University, a defense attorney in New York City, has taught and lectured in Ireland and Jordan, and is a minister of Plainfield Congregational Church. Karen Cadger has been administrative assistant to the mayor for 17 years and served in the same capacity for town manager for 2 years prior to that. She has served as acting mayor during Tosnick's absences and has served on numerous volunteer boards, including the Easthampton Toy Program and Council on Aging's Companion Program. David Euing is a candle maker at Yankee Candle with 20 years of corporate management experience. He was a town meeting member in South Hadley for 10 years. We'll start with opening statements from the candidates. These should be no longer than 2 minutes. So we'll start with Nancy Sykes. Why do you want to be mayor, and why should you be mayor? By the way, in the question and answer format, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question, then each will have a minute to rebut if they so desire. So Nancy Sykes, why do you want to be mayor? Why should you be mayor?
Now, Bob, just for a point of clarification, is that my first question?
Well, not exactly. This is just your opening statement.
I see. So you have framed my opening statement.
I have indeed.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. For the last couple of months, I have been on a listening tour in Easthampton. And I have been talking to the citizens of Easthampton in committee meetings, at the soccer field, in bagel and coffee shops, at house parties, anywhere that I possibly could, on the street, and in offices, everywhere. And this is what I heard from them, Bob. I heard that they are excited about this election, and because they want the opportunity to really get involved in this election for the mayor. And I also heard from them what they want in their new mayor. And that's why I am running for mayor, because they told me that what they want in their new mayor is a person that has a particular experience, a person that has the right experience to be mayor of our city. And they also told me that what they mean by that is that they want a mayor that has experience in leadership, in decision making, and the capacity to tell them why the decision was made. And they want a mayor who collaborates with other people before they make their decision. And I am that person. So for the first time tonight, the citizens of Easthampton and my fellow candidates have the opportunity to see us side by side and see who has the type of experience that the mayor's office needs. And I do think that after we have heard from all of us tonight, you will find that I've made the right decision to run for mayor because I have that experience.
Thank you, Nancy. David Euing, why do you want to be mayor? Why should you be mayor?
I'm ready to be elected this city's next mayor because I have a vision for its future, as well as a true passion for and a commitment to public service. My 20 years of corporate management experience, coupled with an education in business and finance, would serve me very well in this capacity. I have 10 years elected experience in municipal government, as well as decades of leadership roles in volunteerism, ranging from Boy Scout leader to junior achievement teacher. Mayor Tosnick has done a very commendable job. Easthampton is in the midst of a very exciting revival. Our next leader will need to have the leadership skills, fiscal acumen, and vision to take us forward to the next level. I seek and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Karen Cadger, why do you want to be mayor, and why should you be?
I am proud to be a candidate for mayor of Easthampton, and let me tell you why. Running for mayor is an extension of my commitment to public service. Easthampton's a terrific community, a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I've seen firsthand the generosity and spirit of volunteerism in our city. Most people, however, know me as Karen in the mayor's office. You see, I've been there for 19 years. I know how things work, and I know how to get things done. I've established relationships with city department heads and with our state legislators. I know how to create and manage budgets. I know how to obtain state funding that is so vital to our municipal operations. I believe my experience makes me uniquely qualified to be the next mayor of Easthampton. This city is fiscally sound. We have a first-rate public safety system, we have a robust business community, and a vibrant arts community. We are investing in our schools to ensure the best education for our children. We need to do more, and we will do more, to take care of our children and our senior citizens. I am confident that I have the vision, the skills, and the commitment to lead Easthampton into a brighter future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. This is now going to be the question and answer format of our program. I'll ask you a question. You have 2 minutes to respond. You don't have to take the whole 2 minutes. After each candidate answers the question, there's now a point of rebuttal. You can do a minute to rebut if you so desire. So just let me know if you want to rebut to a certain question. Let's start with David. With the Arts Walk, the Bear Fest, etc., Easthampton is getting to be a cultural hub that may someday rival Northampton. Is this a top priority for the city? Where do we go from here?
Absolutely it is. The next step would be to lobby the state cultural committee for cultural district status for Union Street as well. That status brings in business, it brings people downtown, and it makes us what we are.
Karen.
Well, most people may not know, but we have a full-time city arts coordinator. Her name is Burns Maxey, and she is awesome at her job. I think it's really important that the community support the arts. It's vitally important, and I'm going to support it in any way I can. There's really a buzz through the Pioneer Valley that Easthampton is becoming a really cool place to be artists, musicians, painters, woodworkers. And we're going to continue and encourage and assist in any way we can. And to tell you the truth, we're just getting started. The arts are great for downtown. It's great for restaurants, music shops, galleries, bookstores, and it's all a part of our new cultural district. The Bear Fest is just one of the examples and one of the most successful fun events the town has put on in a long time. Everyone enjoyed it, and it drew people from all around, generating even more revenue for local business. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Nancy.
Yes, I do think it is an exciting time in Easthampton, and I do think that the cultural district and the interest in our arts has created a buzz in Easthampton. Now, I think we all know that this is not new. It has been growing for years. Cottage Street has been there for a long time, and we've had great artists in that building for many, many years. But now they are finally coming to their due. They're finally being seen. They're finally being acknowledged in Easthampton. And Easthampton is becoming a place that people want to visit because of this cultural vitalization as far as the city is concerned. And yes, as the future mayor, I would support this. I would support this and continue to encourage this. And at the same time, they do not have to be separate. And at the same time, I will continue to be interested in all the other aspects of Easthampton. I will not just focus on the cultural. Of course, Easthampton is what it is because of the combination. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone care for a minute to rebut?
I would.
I would.
Oh.
You're going to rebut yourself?
No. I'm going to rebut one of the comments that I heard. I don't think you get to rebut yourself, do you?
Rebut away.
Thank you. I just will rebut one thing that David says. When David says that the cultural aspects make Easthampton what we are, I don't in a way disagree with that, but I just don't want to leave it at that, David. I want to make sure that I am saying, and we're all saying, that Easthampton is much more than just that.
Absolutely.
You had a comment, David?
No.
Karen?
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Art Walk is Saturday, and don't forget.
Oh, yes. We'll start with Karen on this round. One thing reporters hear a lot about is the poor condition of the roadways in town. Some say that all they hear from City Hall when they complain is we don't have the money. Knowing that Easthampton prides itself in not asking voters to approve Proposition 2.5 overrides, where should the money come from to do such repairs?
Well, the money comes from Chapter 90 funds. It's the state funds. And this year was a very big year about that. The state was supposed to release $300 million. The legislators fought really hard for that. Unfortunately, the governor decided that he was going to release $100 million. After a lot of arguing and support and lobbying by our legislators, he did end up releasing $200 million. $200 million of Chapter 90 funds is for the roads. That's what the cities and towns use to pave our roads. Easthampton's share of that is $700,000. The sad thing that I feel so sad telling all the residents in Easthampton, unfortunately, $700,000 does not do a lot of paving in Easthampton. Actually, what it's doing is it'll do Hendrick Street from Plain Street to Holyoke Street and East Green Street. And that will use up almost all of it. We'll probably have just a little over $100,000 left. It's the cost of oil that raises the price of the blacktop. And so I just ask the residents and the voters to please be patient. Our DPW does the best job they can. All they can do is use their appropriations for patching potholes, cold patching, that type of thing. But the paving of the roads comes from Chapter 90 funds, and that's all we get. And I have a great working relationship with the legislators. Senator Knappich, unfortunately, has just stepped down, Representative Sykes, and I will fight right along with them in Boston to be heard, and please release Easthampton's fair share of our Chapter 90 funds so we can pave the roads.
Nancy
Thank
Sykes.
you.
Yes, Chapter 90 is what we depend on for repairing our roads. And Chapter 90 obviously is state funds. We don't take any money currently out of the Easthampton budget to repair our roads. And yes, it is wonderful to say that we will go to Boston and lobby our congressman to get more of our fair share of Chapter 90. But the formula for Chapter 90, which determines how much money each town gets, depends on population and employment. So if you want to raise the money we're going to get out of Chapter 90 in Easthampton, there is something we can do. We don't just have to go to Boston to lobby. We can do it right here. We can work to raise our employment rate. The more workers we have in Easthampton, the formula will then work better for us. So I don't want to say there's nothing we can do, that we only can depend on Boston, because I don't believe that is true.
David Euing.
We can go to Boston and lobby, but so is every other city in town. They're all in the same conditions. So what we really need to do is to make sure that we're getting the most efficiency out of our Public Works Department that we possibly can. I know right now Park Street and Pleasant Street through the Industrial Park have been patched over and over again as much as they can be. I think we need to concentrate on them next.
Does anyone care to rebut?
I would. I would never say it's the only thing we can do. And I agree with what you were just talking about, David. But you also have to realize that our budgets are so tight that our Board of Public Works and our Department of Public Works, they're all down at least 2 to 3 men. So they're doing the best we can. And the appropriation that goes to them is for the operations of your highways and, again, you know, your cold patching and pothole patching. So that's where the funds are. I'm just explaining to you that sure, there might be other revenues to try, but the revenues the city has right now is Chapter 90 funds for the roads, for the paving of them.
Anyone else?
And all cities and towns, unfortunately, as I agree, are in the same situation.
Nancy?
Well, I will just speak to that last statement that Karen made. Not all cities and towns rely only on Chapter 90, so that there are creative ways. I am not here to give you that creative way, but I am here to say that I know there are people in our city who if we can work together and collaborate, I am not going to say that we cannot come up with some solutions and not just depend on the state.
Well, one solution is an override, and people aren't really a lot of people aren't interested in having their taxes raised to get more money for the roads.
I don't
Very
think
good
that's a very
question.
creative one.
No,
You
no.
know, that's not a very
Very,
creative
very
one.
good question.
Let's start this round with David Euing. What's the mayor's role in stimulating the economy?
The mayor's role primarily in that direction is to promote the creation of new small businesses in town.
Karen.
Let's make no mistake about it. We need to improve the business climate in Easthampton. We are pro-business, and we're all on the same team. We want smart economic development. We want jobs, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to throw open the lines of communication. We're going to have a business roundtable and invite anyone that wants to come. We're going to talk about what are the barriers in Easthampton, what advantages do we have, and how do we move things forward. We're going to streamline the city process. We're going to let everyone know we're business friendly. We have an industrial park, and we need to attract business for our economic development. We want to support existing local businesses, and we want to also attract some new businesses. This is a competitive environment, and we need to put Easthampton in the forefront. Thank you.
Nancy.
Well, I definitely think the mayor has a role in stimulating business and stimulating our economy. And I think that being the leader of this city, the mayor sets the tone for what is important as far as the city is concerned. Clearly, he has to go to his constituents on many occasions to find out their priorities. But the mayor, she will be setting the tone for how business is to be viewed in this city. And I think that to encourage new business will be wonderful, and to encourage businesses to stay here is all important. And sometimes it means that you have to give special services to a young, growing business. For instance, a possibility is that when a new business opens the first year, you may pay less tax than you do once your business is up and running. There are many ways, and there are so many. There's so much out there, and to work with our businesses in our city and to really let them know, let the mayor let the businesses know. That's what I want to do. Let business know that I am going to work with you and I'm going to support you. And I think that the tone comes from the top. Thank you.
Rebuttal?
Well, David, did you have something?
No.
Sure. Well, I just think that we have a lot going on in Easthampton. If you look at the redevelopment of I look at these factories that have been empty, 116 Pleasant Street, 180 Pleasant Street. Right now we're trying to revitalize 15 Cottage Street. But we are working as hard as we can to get businesses in here. You know, we're definitely pro-business, and also with your, we work very well with the grants department, who look for different ways that can bring in different businesses and assist them in any way they can.
Let's continue on in that vein. Let's start with Nancy. About these old buildings, a lot of vacant mill buildings that you see in the city. You can see a lot of them from the bike path. So what's the best use for these structures?
The best use for these structures, Bob, it's an excellent question because there are so many choices, obviously. The very first thing that has to happen is someone has to want them. Someone has to be interested in them. And someone has to know that whatever their interest is, whether it be a new theater, whether it be a new restaurant, whether it be a new condominium or whatever it might be, someone has to come in and say this city is ready for that. So I think that where the mayor comes into play with that is, once again, to give the impression to business, to give the impression to business that the mayor is supporting this. And I also think another way that you're going to have people interested in those vacant buildings, Bob, is you have to go out. The mayor has to go out. The mayor has to be seen in other places, not just in Easthampton. The mayor has to work with the mayor of Holyoke. The mayor of Easthampton has to work with the mayor of Northampton. The mayor has to go out and be seen in conferences, be seen in places, so that Easthampton becomes a place that other businesses are interested in, or other people are interested in.
David Euing.
One of the key facets of my platform is affordable housing. As I traveled the city in search of nomination signatures, I was amazed by the vastness of dilapidated 2- and 3-family housing. Our 10-year plan has to address this in order for our next generation to stay in our city. I think we really need to look at these buildings as potential affordable housing and look at tax breaks for developers to create them to such.
Karen Ketcher.
That's very true about the affordable housing. And what also is happening right now is we have some properties that, just like that have been abandoned. I don't know how familiar anybody is with the Everett Street property. It was formerly known as the Hannafin. That will be Habitat for, that's actually Habitat for Humanity. We have that property, and actually there are just meetings on that in East Street, which will be Habitat for Humanity. I was just talking before about 15 Cottage Street. That is an amazing, and if you don't think the city's been working with these developers, trust me, this has been a long process. Our tax collector has worked with them, our finance director has worked with them, and the mayor has worked with them to figure out how can we make this program happen. It's a federal funded program, so there are many, many, many hoops to jump through, and we are doing everything we can to get them here, especially that location. 15 Cottage Street, it's right in the heart of the city. And some people at different times will get a little scared about the affordable housing thing. If you have seen what these apartments will look like, honestly, they're nicer than most people's homes. And they're beautiful, and that will feed the downtown economy. So people are going to either work here, shop here, eat here. I think it's just, an excellent idea. Thanks.
Anybody care to add? Nancy.
I think I'd just add one thing on both of those comments. I think that as mayor, I would want to hear from the neighborhoods of these vacant buildings. I would like to hear from the citizens of that area, because I know there has certainly been some disagreement as to how the buildings should be used, and certainly there has been some disagreement over more affordable housing. I am not saying that it could not be a possibility, but once again, as mayor, I want to hear what the citizens have to say about that.
I'd like to rebut on that. Just to let you know, anytime anything like this happens, there are several public hearings. We do not just go off on a tangent. There are public hearings because we always want to hear from the neighborhoods. A lot of times we know what we're going to hear from the neighborhoods, but we want to do it anyway. And a perfect example is right now what's before the city council. We're surplusing the Parsons Street School. So of course we could auction it, make probably $900,000 in a minute. Did we do that? No. We've gone out to the public, we're going to have several public hearings. What do they want there? What fits in the neighborhood? What do the neighbors say? And it's in front of the city council now, and they are very interested in what the public is saying before they surplus that building. Thank you.
David?
I'd love to speak to that issue, but I don't know if you'd like to have a question on the Parsons Street issue or not. I don't know.
Is that next?
We could get to that.
All right, then I'll wait for my comments on
Let's
that.
start with David on this one then.
I didn't get started on any question.
You didn't get started on any
I
question?
didn't.
Oh, I've been remiss.
Was that a whine?
Well, we'll start off now.
All right,
How's that?
let's go.
Let's talk about the Parsons Street.
Yes,
Let's talk
do.
about New City.
Let's talk about the
There's a lot of
Parsons
controversy
Street.
over this. It's been going on for a long time.
Yes,
Big one.
it is.
So what's your take?
My take on that is, and I only have 2 minutes, right? All right, my take is that I attended all of those meetings that were public hearing as far as Parsons Street was concerned, and there was excellent citizen participation with good ideas. Maybe some of them are not realistic, and I would never judge what I think I'm going to hear from the public until I hear it. I don't want to be that kind of mayor that determines what the public is going to say before I hear from them. But what I was most interested in was when the issue of surplusing Parsons Street School went to the subcommittee of the City Council, the Property Committee. It is now in their hands. The school committee has given it up. It's now to the city, and now it goes to the Property Subcommittee. They hold the decision in their hands, 3 members of the City Council. The public came to that meeting. And once again, they spoke with passion, they spoke with interest, they really put their spirit in that room. And they were told, we're going to delay, we're going to delay, we're going to delay, we don't know what we're going to do on this. Okay, that's fine, maybe that was what was needed. But then they were told by the chairman of the Property Subcommittee, I don't know when we'll have our next meeting. Maybe January, and laugh. I just do not think that is listening to the public. That is not serving the public. So I was concerned about that, and that's one of the reasons why I think I strongly want to collaborate with all aspects of our city in making these kind of decisions.
One thing I've learned over years in corporate management is the buck has to stop somewhere. And this has gone around and around and around, and it's time for the mayor to step up and really give people a kick in the butt to make a decision.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very good comment. Well, I had the pleasure of visiting that building and walking through it with the mayor and with our finance director. It is an amazing building. And the questions there, and actually our city planner lives right in the area. So it's very sensitive. The people in the area have felt like affordable housing had been jammed down their throat. So they're very much opposed to it. Did you need to do something? Okay. So they're very much, they're very much opposed to just plopping affordable housing in there. And they're also very much opposed, which would be, when we surplus a building, the school committee surplused it to the mayor's office. Then we present it to the city council. What the city council does is they put the restrictions on it and give it back to our office, which is the mayor's office, on how we surplus it. They can say, yes, it's surplus, here you go. No restrictions. We can get an auction that day, hire an auctioneer, off it goes. Highest bidder wins. Or they can do what they've done on any other building we've surplused. The memorial building we've surplused. The school administration building we've surplused. And they'll put what fits in that need. They'll put restrictions on it so that it has a specific need and a specific use, or it has to fit in with the environment. So that is why the city council is opposed to just throwing it out there. They want to spend a lot more time to see what fits in there. It's actually a huge parcel. It becomes 2 full streets. You could make a whole street of housing out of it. People there don't want to lose the building. They want reuse of it. There's been all different ideas for it. And actually right now we have a nonprofit that's interested in using it. It hasn't come out into the public yet, but it would be awesome, the use that he's considering it for. So those are all the things that consider. And the city, obviously, with the budgets, we would love to just grab $900,000 or $1 million. Is it right? No. You don't just jam it on the community. That's why it takes time. In the meantime, all the bills for that building have come to my office. And I'm paying for the oil bills so that we can keep it up so it doesn't deteriorate in the meantime. Thank you.
Any rebuttal?
I'll just have one rebuttal, and that is that, Karen, you keep speaking of we do this, we do that. Am I assuming that you are speaking for the mayor?
The mayor and I have worked as a team for 17 years. And yes, we work our office together. Anything he does, I know of. Anything I do, he does. So that when I replace him, when I'm acting mayor and he's not there, I know all the issues. And when I hopefully ever take a vacation, he knows everything I do. So we work as a team.
So in other words, when
and
you
we,
say...
the city, we, the mayor's office.
When you say we, could just auction it off, and we have decided that the mayor conferenced with you before he made that decision?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
In other words, you're
Nancy.
saying we decided this and we decided that and we decided to turn
We,
it
the
over.
city. We, the city. This is a legal process. We don't just, you can't, this is the process that a municipalities are very different. A
Right,
public
right.
sector is very different
I've
than
read the
private
charter
sector.
a lot.
Oh, good. So a public sector is very different than a private sector. So we have guidelines by laws that we have to follow, and that is the disposal process for a city to follow. And when I'm
Absolutely.
saying we, I mean the city. The city has to follow the laws, and that's the process that we're following. And right now, it's in the city council's hand, which is the second phase of the third phase,
And
and
that-
then it'll come back to the mayor's office.
And that is the phase that I am saying they are not doing anything with it right this morning.
I understand.
The property subcommittee now makes the decision of what limits will be put on that building, not the mayor's office.
That's right. That's what I
The
explained.
mayor's office, or the mayor, is what I understood. The mayor makes the decision about whether to drain the building or whether to winterize it or whether to use heat. It is the mayor's decision to do that.
Anything to add, David?
The buck has to stop, like I said before.
Well, one thing we do not have a surplus of is time, so we're going to take a break right now. This is the mayoral debate from Easthampton with Nancy Sykes, Karen Cadger, and David Euing. We'll be back in about 5.5.
Commonwealth Registry of Nurses' professional caring staff can provide the assistance needed to cope with growing healthcare challenges. With a nurse on call 24 hours a day, Christine Moriarty and her staff have offered the alternative of home care since 1989.
Commonwealth Registry of Nurses supports Easthampton Community Access Television.
How you doing? I'm Pat Ruff from Think and Paris Insurance and the Greater Easthampton Chamber of Commerce, and you're watching Channel 5 ECAT.
My name is Erica McRitchie, and I'm an Employment Services Supervisor, and I am also a Special Projects Supervisor here at Riverside. I came into this work here in Easthampton about just over 10 years ago when I transplanted from Wisconsin, and I went to school for vocational rehabilitation, so this field is right where I'm supposed to be, and it's kind of my home, so I've just made a career out of it.
Special place for you.
Well, I love Riverside because I think it's a good place to work, and they have more to offer. And I think it's a better job. We try to have more work in the site. If they have work for us to do.
There's no end to how we impact the lives of participants at Riverside Industries, how meaningful it is for them to come here every day and be employed and get a paycheck at the end of the month and be respected and regarded by everyone who they come in contact with, including their co-workers that are working side by side with them in employment, the staff. This is a place where people express themselves, feel valued, respected, and part of the community.
My name's Beth Q. I like making new friends a lot, and I've been doing Chop Pat and Dr. Hotchka, and I like doing math for downtime and crossword puzzle via downtime, and I like building 3 a lot more.
I'm Jason Lawan. I am an employment specialist here at Riverside, where I have been for 10 years full-time. And I have always been a people person. I've always been dedicated to working with people. After working relief for a couple years in college, all over the area and all different kinds of companies, I saw that Riverside really was a place that cared, that had great people across the board, not just the people who we serve, but also the people who we work with, the people above us. It really was a place where I could see that everyone cared, and as as someone who cares a lot and wanted to help people and wanted to give back, I applied here and luckily was hired about a decade ago. And I love it. You know, a lot of the time I get asked how I can do what I do and how I can work so hard, and it's really as simple as the great people we work with. I get back, I always tell them I get back just as much as I get, if not more so. Over the years I've worked with so many incredible, unique people and done so many unique things I wouldn't have done in a different job. And I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Hi, I'm Tessa McCollum, and our project is Emotion in Motion.
And I know it's a little bit awkward on land, but in the vernal pool, this is the way we swim around.
Going to give you a new tour through the high school again.
These are my mom. And one of the few joys that she experienced was seeing the bears exhibited on the streets.
About one person over 65 falling every 2.5 to 3 seconds. So
tonight is the 7th annual Light Up the Arts celebration.
And I want to just take this moment to personally invite you to our East of Paradise silent and live
Much
auction.
quicker start. Both jammers winning their way through the pack. Mars Travolta.
To work in coordination and cooperation with the private sector.
My name is Ingrid Flory. I'm voting for in favor of the override.
They're exposed to a lot of influences, and they have a lot of complicated decisions
for you. The first one is based on Poetry Club.
We are back. I'm Bob Flaherty from WHMP Radio. This is the Easthampton mayoral debate with Karen Cadger, Nancy Sykes, and David Euing. So we're going to start this round. We'll start with David. Some people complain about a lack of accessibility to city leaders. Any truth to that? If so, what can be done?
I'm not sure what's happened in the past, but you know, one of the key components of my campaign would be to hold a monthly citizens meeting with the mayor. And I would hope that that would flow downhill to the departments also.
Karen.
Well, as far as that, people feel very comfortable coming into our office. First of all, it's a city office. It's for the public. Everybody's welcome. And we haven't been there that many years. We used to be at Town Hall. So now that we're at the municipal building, people are at the beginning, people would come in and look around and find our new sittings. The good part is every city office is there except the police and fire, and they're right next door. At one time we were split up about 5 different buildings. Well, I don't know how people feel about Friendly, but no one has a problem coming to my desk. I open the door, sometimes I have a line waiting. I'm called, they know me as the go-to person. Anybody looking for anything, trust me, they have no problems coming to my desk, calling me on the phone, telling me anything that they need because they know I'll help them out. I will listen to anything they have to say, and they know it. And that's why I'm known as Karen in the mayor's office. And again, that's why when the signs went up and I was running for mayor, no one knew my last name because that's how I'm known in the city. But I would maintain that. I'm a people person. I love people, and I will take any input, and I listen to everybody. And that's how we get things done.
Nancy Sykes.
Could you just repeat that last part of the question for me? Because I know it's about accessibility, but do I believe that
There is truth to it, and what can be done?
Is there truth to the fact that it is not accessible? Well, I hate to disagree in a sense, but I have to say there has to be some truth to it, because I've talked to over 200 people in the last 2 months, and many of them have told me that they don't feel that Payson Avenue is necessarily accessible to them in the sense that, oh yes, doors are open, nobody's door is locked. That's not what we're talking about. but they don't feel that they are necessarily heard. And if they are heard, they don't feel that they are necessarily taken seriously. Now, is that a fair sampling of the city? I can't say that. We know numbers. But I'm just saying, in order to truthfully answer that question, there are people who believe that it is not accessible. And there are people who believe that it can be more accessible, that they can be listened to more, and that they can be consulted more, and that they can be told why decisions are made. You cannot possibly please everyone, but you can at least tell people why you made your decision. So when I am mayor, the first thing I'm going to do is put a sign on the front of that Payson Avenue door that says, "Welcome, come in. There is only one reason for people in this building to be working, and that's to serve the citizens of Easthampton."
Any rebuttals?
Well, I actually agree with your last statement about serving the citizens of Easthampton, because trust me, anytime there is a snowstorm, everybody will call me and to complain about they're not plowed out yet, or when are they getting plowed out, I'll make sure they're on. They remind me all the time that they pay my salary. And I am a public servant, and I tell them, yes, you're right, you do pay my salary, and thank you very much. As far as being unwelcoming, I guess I have a really hard time with that, because if you know the people that work there, and I'm just going to take the first floor, or actually the school department's on the second floor, they're all very friendly, but the first floor, as soon as you walk in, you hit the city clerk's office. That is the place for, everybody stops there for marriage certificate, birth certificates, dog licenses, you name it. Then you move down to the tax collector, who everybody knows. That's where you pay your real estate taxes or your excise taxes. Then the next door is a DPW. They even had a dog in there. Children felt so comfortable. They would come in, people would bring cookies for the dog. So I think that's very accessible. I also worked in the building department, which is in the basement of the building. I worked for the building inspector, the wire inspector, and the plumbing inspector for 7 years. And all the contractors feel very comfortable coming in. So I guess I have a hard time thinking that we're not welcome, because we all are very happy there. We really feel very welcoming.
I think we're talking semantics. I'm not talking welcoming. I'm talking that they do not feel that they are listened to. I'm not talking that they can't bring bones to the dog. Everybody knows the town clerk. I mean, I'm afraid everyone I talked to said she is the go-to woman. So I am not questioning that you can be welcome there. I am talking about they do not feel always heard, and they do not especially feel heard in the mayor's office. So I have to repeat what I've heard. So maybe it's semantics.
I would ask, why are you always the go-to woman? Why can't people feel that they can go to someone else in some department?
That's a great question, David. And I was just going to rebut what Nancy had said about the city clerk's office being the go-to woman, because I'm thinking the go-to person, because that surprised me a little bit, because they're the ones that send everybody to me, because they know I love people. I'll take care of whatever you have. I'll listen to whatever you got to do, and they know if you want something done, and they don't, they might not know the answers, and they know if they don't know it, it's not. Their offices are very specific. The mayor's office should be the one-stop shop. So, they're in there doing their marriage licenses and registrar of voters and all that. So if somebody comes in with a question that doesn't fit there, it's like, oh, go see Karen in the mayor's office. And I like that. And if I don't know the answer, they know I'll find out. So I've never heard anybody refer to the go-to person other than me. And it is the city clerk's office, Barbara and Mary Ann, that usually refer everybody to me.
The give and take here is awesome.
Yes.
But let's try to keep it to 2 minutes to answer the question and then a minute to rebut, just so we can keep it flowing. But it's been fascinating. Let's start with you, Karen, this time. The Hilltown Cooperative Charter School. They've long wanted to move from the cramped location in Haydenville. They've set their sights on Easthampton. Tosnick does not support this. What are the pros and cons of having such a school in the city?
Okay, this is a very hot topic. Very good question. The idea of charter schools is good. However, the reality is there a financial drain on the cities and towns. Easthampton has very good public schools, and we're committed to making them even stronger. We're working hard to keep our students in our schools. We're committed to providing teachers with all the resources we can in order for them to continue to do a great job. We want to strengthen the Easthampton schools. We want to make Easthampton schools the school of choice. Right now, we are paying out almost $1.7 million out of a $35 million budget to school choice. The problem with school choice is the way it's funded. The state needs to come up with a better model for funding charter schools and school choice. So the problem isn't with the schools, it's with the way the state handles it. And I think the biggest controversy is where the school wanted to go. They wanted to go in an industrial park. You know, we're hoping to get industry into these places. And you're talking about a whole school filled with young children and trucks in and out constantly. I mean, the right past there, that road is the in and out road for the United States Post Office. All the mail trucks go in and out of there constantly. So it's the location, and we're afraid it will take, you know, the debate is being afraid to take away from our schools. But it's not the idea that's bad, and every parent should feel that they have the choice to where they want to send their children to school.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Well, it is a very broad topic, obviously, and I appreciate that. And I almost hate to simplify it, but there is a real difference between choice and charter as far as funding is concerned. If you choice your child out to another school, the school district, Easthampton, pays $5,000 for your child. They pay it to the other school. If you charter out, if you choose to go to a charter school, the school district pays anywhere between $12,000 and $18,000 to that charter school. So it's a huge difference in our budget in the Easthampton school system, whether a parent chooses to send their child to another public school or chooses to send their child to a charter public school. Charter schools are public schools. They just happen to have entirely different requirements and entirely different operation. If the charter school does come to Easthampton, it is called a charter public school, but we will have no control over it as far as the school committee is concerned, as far as the school board is concerned, as far as the superintendent is concerned. I am in favor of parents making their very, very best decisions for themselves. This is one time when I think the mayor may have to go to Boston and advocate for changing the charter funding. And I know how to advocate. I was a lawyer for 5 years, and I have done a tremendous amount of negotiation. I know how to advocate. I know how to do that. And this is one thing I will go to Boston on.
David.
I agree with Mayor Tosnick that this is a very poor fit for the city. The Hilltown charter schools have been looking for a new building for years now, and the only reason they're here is because they happen to find an empty building to rent. It's not in the right location. Here in Easthampton, our school budget this year is $671,723 less than requested, and the charter school is just going to add to that. Poor choice.
Any rebuttals on that?
Well, one little part of interest is we have increased the goal is to be the school, for us to be the school of choice, to make our schools the schools that people want to go to. And this year, we had 79 students come in as choice students in Easthampton. Last year it was only 61. Unfortunately, we have 188 going out. So it's a difficult decision. It's a very it's a huge strain. Again, $1.7 million right off the top of our budget. It's a huge strain on the city.
Just 1 minute. I just will, David, just to add to something you said, and correct it just a little bit, the charter school has been looking at Easthampton for years. It hasn't just been looking at all around. They've been looking at Easthampton because why not? We have a fantastic community. Why wouldn't the Hilltown Charter School want to come into Easthampton, especially with the creativeness that is happening here now? And why wouldn't they want to work with our fantastic middle school community, because they have a very, very low population in their middle school and they want to grow it. And we in Whitebrook know what to do. So it has not been accidental that they have chosen Easthampton.
Anybody else? Nancy, let's go to you.
Okay, got me.
In a move toward transparency in local government, all board
Yes.
meetings are required to be recorded on camera.
Yes.
This was met with some resistance. What's your take on this?
I have no resistance to that, none whatsoever. And I actually, for one of the few times in my life, I can think of no argument not to do it. Usually, I can think of an argument on both sides, without a doubt. But I really can think of no reason not to record the meetings.
David.
Full transparency has always belonged in government, and it's about time it finally came.
I think it's very helpful for people that can't attend these meetings. Obviously, all the boards and committees, these are public meetings, anybody can go, but there are people that can't go. So you have a lot of, it doesn't matter if you're young or old, and you just can't necessarily be at these meetings at this time. So if they're recorded, everybody has the right to see what's happening, especially things in like, a lot of them are very important. I'm on the licensing board, so I know people like to check out who's getting a new liquor license or what's happening. A lot of them really have been very hot meetings. But also community preservation. All the meetings ahead of time as to where they decide on the funding. If you were looking for CPA funds, you would come to that meeting. And I think people would be interested to see who comes, what the criteria is, what the discussion is there before it hits the city council level. So I think exactly on this one we all agree, transparency, it's public, it's out there. Everybody should be able to see what's happening. There shouldn't be any closed doors or secrets.
Anything to add? Let's start with you, David. Let's talk about the Stop and Shop project. There's been a lot of controversy. The Tasty Talk, for God's sake. The golf course that you could lose the Tasty Talk and everything else that's been there for so many years. What's your take on the Stop and Shop project?
Development is inevitable, no matter where you go. With more population every year, there's more demand for services, there's more demand for the type of products that Stop and Shop is going to sell. Do I think we really need a new supermarket at this very moment? No, but in the next few years, possibly we will. The objections that were made to this project were not documented. All they did was tie the thing up in court for a few years, and the inevitability was that Stop and Shop was going to get the permit, and that's what's happened.
Karen.
Well, when you're thinking of Stop and Shop, first of all, it's zoned properly. And it always reminds me of years ago under the Board of Selectmen days when Big Y wanted to come into the city. No, let's not have that. We don't want that. It doesn't fit into our community. Well, Southampton hopped right on it. So we have Big Y right on the border. Everyone I know pops in there. Like I love Big E's, I'm at Big E's, but everybody goes to Big Y also. It services Southampton and Easthampton. That all the revenue and taxes go to Southampton, and it's right there. So you have to be very careful. Do we want business in the city? Is it zoned? We went through, look at the master plan, look at the vision for Easthampton. What was the vision that they wanted for that corridor? Was it business? As long as it's zoned properly and the permitting process is adhered to. And right now I think everybody knows it's just been held up in legal battles. They could pop in on, not tomorrow because we're not there, but they could pop in on Monday and just apply for their permits now. But there's nothing stopping them other than they don't want to do that because of, in case, more legal ties. But it's been approved. It's gone through the courts twice. It's been approved by 2 judges.
Nancy.
Well, it certainly has been through a long process. And I think that perhaps at the beginning of the process there was more heated, obviously, discussion because people began to think that there may be some way to prevent it. And I know there was a lot of controversy as to whether the city's process was transparent. There were some that think it wasn't. There was a lot of discussion about whether they had followed the right path. That is in the future. I think we have to say that. It certainly maybe doesn't hurt to revisit it in case something like this comes along again. Now, we are in the courts. And it is the living reason as to why I never went into that part of law. Because it is called see how long you can drag the case out. It is sort of amazing. But it's legal. It's a process, and they're going with it. And so I do I do have to say that I think, unless something else happens, Stop and Shop will be. I just don't know when.
Anything to add? Anybody?
Well, at the beginning of the process, the planning board, you know, when it hits the planning board, they did make restrictions. They scaled down the project a lot. There was originally going to be what you would call a mini mall or a strip mall, whatever the proper word for it is, gas stations. They spent a lot of time deciding. At one time they wanted it in a different way, so they couldn't have access from the different streets. So the planning board spent a lot of time protecting the neighborhood from, you know, from any adverse reactions. So a lot of public hearings were held on this issue. And I agree with Nancy. I worked for a law firm for almost 10 years, and that was not one of my favorite things to do. I like the criminal law because it moved a lot faster.
Karen, let's start with you. There's a growing senior population in the city of Easthampton. Are their needs being met?
Very good question. What's happening with the senior center now, or enrichment center, as David said, they've lost funding through grants for some of their positions. Immediately, we weren't informed about it till the budget process. Immediately, the city picked it up. Do they need outreach workers? Absolutely. They have a full-time outreach worker and a part-time outreach worker. One of the positions lost the funding. So that's been funded by the city. We're also funding, and a lot of people don't realize, but some of their hours have actually been added to, not cut. We've just added a clerical position there. So the seniors center it's vital to them. What's happening right now is they need another van. And well, they have a van, but they feel it needs more repairs than it's worth. So the first thing I did is to make sure it was on the capital plan, because that's how we fund those type of projects. And it was great. It was on there. They have a very active group called the Friends. They're actually out there raising funds and donations to get their own van. I mean, these people are awesome. The seniors definitely need outreach. They need great activities in the senior center. They need our utmost respect, and they need transportation to get there and back.
Nancy Sykes.
Well, I had visited the enrichment center and talked with Linda, the director there, and they do fantastic things with the amount of money that they do have, the lack of money they do have. But I also think your question says, do I think the senior population, I don't believe you said anything about did I think the enrichment center was serving the community. Do I think the senior population is being served? And I think there's a lot more to the senior population than just people that go and take advantage of the enrichment center. It's a wonderful opportunity for many, but there's a large portion of our seniors that do not go to the enrichment center for whatever reason, and they have concerns and they have interest. I have met with some of those groups, and it has just been enlightening to me about some of the concerns. But and I think the number one is that they want to be heard, just like any group of people, just like maybe young people starting off in business want to be heard. It's a part of the population that wants to feel that they are being listened to. And I would certainly, as mayor, have a senior council that would advise me at least once a month, meet with me once a month, not just representatives of the enrichment center. I mean, that's a fantastic group, but I want from all aspects of our senior population. And I think that I have to remember, by the way, I'm one of them. So I want them to feel that they are listened to.
David?
Seniors are very close to my heart. My wife and I live in a treehouse community with many, many seniors. My parents are seniors in their late 80s trying to survive in their home. So I agree a lot with a lot of what Nancy said, but we need to stop talking about this and we need to really do something about it. And one of the key points of my program would be to copy the city of Chicopee and to offer a volunteer credit for seniors towards 50% of their annual property tax, income qualified, of course.
Anything to add?
Yes, actually, that's a great idea, and that is in front of the city council now. That's in one of the committees as to, you know, getting money off your taxes for the seniors. And if you don't think I know the needs of the seniors, well, let me just tell you, I was a companion for the seniors, and it's a one-on-one, it's a wonderful volunteer program. The minute I retire or get extra time, I would go back into it. It's the most fulfilling thing to be just part of the seniors. You get to know everything about them. They pair you up with one person. I was actually paired up with somebody that didn't have any family around here and was basically a shut-in, till I realized that she could go out. Once I got her in the car, it was awesome. We took her out for a ride. Actually, I took her out for fish and chips in Keno. So it was a really big night. But do they have needs? Absolutely. I took care of my dad for the 5 years before he passed away. So they deserve our utmost respect. And one thing they have at the senior center, and I haven't been able to get there yet, they have Zumba. I mean, they have everything there. They have a fitness center. My coworker, Judy from personnel, goes there on her lunch hour to the fitness center. But I actually have got to get there. I've been trying to get to Zumba when it was on Thursday night. Now they have it 2 nights a week. So they got excellent programs, and we're going to take care of our seniors any way they need to be taken care of.
We have a CD player. We could do Zumba right now.
Exactly.
We need to find a way to get more seniors there, though. We can't do something, create programs that people aren't going to come. And I've walked into there many times, and there's only been 3 or 4 people in the center.
And they have just recently cut back the lunch program because it was so poorly attended. I would like to just add one thing to this topic. It's a big topic, and I know we can't cover it in, 6 minutes. But I do want to say that, maybe I'm really biased on this, but I do think the senior population is a vibrant population. And it has certain needs, yes, like all populations of our community, but they're very vibrant, and I want them to be more involved in the community and more involved and feeling like they are participating in the community. I don't know how I stand on the voluntary credit income tax, because I think it excludes seniors then. It pits them against the rest of the population. It can. I want to leave that open for further discussion, I hope. There will be much discussion on that. But I want them to be included, not excluded. Living in community means living in community. And I want the seniors to feel that.
Start this round with you, Nancy. None of the candidates are native to Easthampton. Can you share with viewers and listeners what brought you to Easthampton and why you'd recommend it to others?
Ooh, commercial time for Easthampton. What brought me to Easthampton was the fact that it had neighborhoods. I felt like I was moving to a neighborhood, streets where you greet each other and know each other. And it had a feeling of community from the very beginning. And I got involved right away in the school system. I was taken in by the excellence of the schools and the growing, when I moved here, the growing interest, continued growing interest in the cultural advantages that Easthampton brings you. It's alive. It's alive with energy, and it's alive with possibility. Yes, it is a young city. We're what, 17, 18 years old? And maybe we have just graduated from high school, I'm not sure. But we still have much to learn as far as the identity, our identity as a city. And why not move here now, folks, and be a part of that great identity that is going to just blossom even more as far as Easthampton is concerned.
David Euing.
My wife and I were fortunate enough to be accepted into the treehouse community in the meadow where we live. We've always loved it there. And since we've been there, we've explored the city a lot, and we love the feel of Cottage Street, the cultural district, the people that just come downtown. I don't see that in any other local community as much. I love the Williston School. I used to live in South Hadley, and it was just like driving through Mount Holyoke College. We have neighborhoods, as Nancy said, and we have vibrancy in those neighborhoods. It's just a great place to live.
Karen.
Well, over 34 years ago, my husband and I were looking for our first home. We're both natives from Holyoke. I've lived way more than half my life in Easthampton. And we were looking for a home, our very first home, actually the very first home I lived in, because I grew up in apartments. So we've checked every surrounding community, and we ended up coming to Easthampton. And right down Deerfield Drive, our house was brand new. All that was on it, they were just building homes. There was just a shell. Immediately, I fell in love with it. The trees, it was like part of the country. It's like going out into a place that's just so relaxing, so serene, so pristine, so beautiful. And we have to buy this house. We looked at it, it's like, oh no, don't ever tell anybody the price of this house. Back then, homes were going for, $30,000, which was a lot. So the house was actually a lot more than 30. It was like in the 40s. We decided to do everything we could to get that home, paint the outside, stain the outside, do every single thing to keep that home. And we've been there ever since. The community is so friendly. And the very first thing I did after, we raised our family here. I have 2 children. They were born here, raised here, and attended the Easthampton school system. So I know the community, but the first thing I noticed is the volunteerism. Whatever you need, whatever you want, this community will be here for you. Whether you want to put plants out, whether you want, like I have the toy program, you want to raise money for anything, they're there. It's the community. Once you're here, you're not leaving. At one time it was called the bedroom community, but right now, this place is taken off.
Yes,
I mean, this place, Easthampton's on a roll. And with the arts and the cultural and the restaurants, I mean, we've come a long way, and it's just gotten better and better and better.
And you have the best bike path of all time.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
I know our time is getting short here. We'll start with you, David. Mayor Mike has expressed delight that a full field of candidates has announced for this post, saying that, quote, candidates will talk about their vision and what's best for the community. So, what's your vision for the future of Easthampton?
I come from 20 plus years of corporate experience, and my vision is to do something rather than talking about it. I think there's way too much talk going on with way too many factions in politics. The mayor's job is to be a leader, and that's what I intend to do.
Karen McCaffrey.
Okay. My vision for Easthampton is actually 6 things. Vibrant business with open lines of communication. Cultural climate. Our downtown's booming. We have a designated cultural district on Cottage Street, excuse me. School excellence. We have fantastic, dedicated teachers. Strong public safety to ensure our safe streets and our neighborhoods. Senior programs with outreach services and transportation. Bridges and road maintenance. Again, I'll fight right alongside our legislators to get our fair share of the Chapter 90 funds. Thank you.
Nancy.
Well, I'll try to limit this, because a vision we could talk on all evening. My vision for Easthampton is one day, one day very soon, there are going to be people like us driving down 91, not from Easthampton, and they're going to see that sign that says the exit for Easthampton. And they're going to turn to each other in the car, and they're going to say, wow, I've heard about that city. I've heard that it's an excellent place to raise your children. It's an excellent place to have a business. It's an excellent place to be in with your family and in neighborhood. And I've heard it's a good place to stop and have lunch. So let's pull in. So my vision is that more people will know what a fantastic opportunity Easthampton is.
Anybody have anything to add?
Take it from me, it is an excellent place to raise your children. And my 2 children, Matthew and Katie, feel very privileged to have ever grown up in a community like this.
Anybody else?
Matthew and Katie.
A little piece of the vision, if I might be selfish about it, a little piece of that vision is more personal. As they're driving along, they're also going to turn to each other and say, I hear they have a new mayor there. And her office is always open, and she'll talk to you about anything, and she'll talk to anyone. Let's pull in and go see that Miss Sykes.
Anybody else? Well, we thank you. That's going to wrap up our evening. Nancy Sykes, thanks for joining us. David Euing, Karen Cadger. This has been the Easthampton Mayoral Debate. I'm Bob Flaherty from WHMP that's been broadcasting this debate tonight. Thanks everybody for showing up tonight, and we're over and out.
That was excellent.
Thank you,
That was
Dave.
excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.